Previously on Trigger Warning, a college under siege.
I'm conflicted.
I have to go upstairs. Jake Rivers, you're here. Bullet sound, bullet sound.
I'm getting out of here to go someplace else. Allow me to betray you.
Did someone say elderly cowboy?
Cis-normative.
On his weird journey upstairs for no real reason, Jake finds a room full of staff hostages and frees them from their disposable captor. The bad guys don't win unless we let them.
I must say, that doesn't sound like the usual Kelton talk.
I'm not the usual student. Jake stations Pierce to guard this floor. I need someone I can trust.
You trust me? We don't agree on much of anything.
You talking politics? There are no atheists in foxholes.
What's a foxhole?
Kids these days. Right, disregarding how stupid that phrase is, he's using it completely wrongly.
It's meant to be about suddenly adopting a belief in desperate circumstances, but he's trying to say that in this desperate circumstance, beliefs should be put aside, and that's just not the right aphorism.
Kids these days.
One of Matthias's cronies has a name. Carlos is in charge of another building of hostages, but one of them's unfamiliar. The old man moved in a blur of speed, catching Carlos around the throat. Old men shouldn't be fast and strong, was Carlos's final thought.
Oh, I'd not even picked him a voice.
The other terrorists started to react. One got his gun halfway up before a pair of rounds shattered his skull, cored through his brain, and blew the back of his head off. Two more ran at the old man, guns blazing. He took 2 shots and exploded their hearts. With 4 of the 6 gunmen down, that left just 2.
Stop being so racist.
Drop that gun, you old bastard. The old bastard fired a shot straight into his open mouth. It shattered his spine. The other guy got 2 rounds in the middle of his face.
1 up each nostril, maybe?
Who the hell are you? Just call me Dog.
This dog is buck wild. When Agent Graham hears of this, he says,
"We used to hear rumors of a vigilante called Dog. He'd roam the country in his truck."
Are you sure this isn't the A-Team?
Jake had left Matumbo looking after some hostages. He supposed he was better than nothing. For the second time, Jake hears someone coming up the stairs. Jake, is that you? I don't want to do this anymore. It was a terrible mistake. And a shot rings out from somewhere and Natalie's down.
You'd think it would kill her, but it actually bounced off her importance to the plot.
Jake quickly kills the other guy. Not Lucy. I'm Natalie. I'm so sorry. Jake carries the unconscious Natalie to safety because she's worth it. She and her completely scattered characterization. There's got to be a damsel. Jake left his short-term sidekicks looking after her. Liberal or not, they'd proven not to be completely worthless. He supposed they were better than nothing. For the 3rd time, Matthias tries to call another of his men. This isn't Mark.
The bounty hunter Dog teases Matthias.
I'm someone you don't want to know. Matthias was running low on allies. If the hostages decided to rush him, they'd win. Fortunately, they were college kids indoctrinated in progressive claptrap. Far too woke for violence, unless it was as part of a mob.
Which is what rushing him would involve.
The inmates had long since taken over this asylum. The resistance was super important, but not at the expense of the mega-generous allowance. They were sheep, and sheep they would remain. Scared little sheep who did what the government and media told them.
Seriously, get your accusations straight. You hate these kids because they always do as they're told, and organize protest demonstrations? I wish left-wing kids were as rich as this book thinks, because then they'd have the position where they can affect more change.
Jake was always fully aware of his surroundings. He remembered a quote from Jim Mattis. Always have a plan to kill everybody in the room. That sounded like good advice, even if it's come from a Marine.
I'm beginning to see why he wasn't popular at college. I'm not just beginning to. What a sociopathic mantra. Do army boys really think this way? The only time I plan to kill everyone in the room is when I'm by myself. Some of these lazy hostages aren't bothering to escape.
We should stay where we are until someone from the government tells us to leave.
My hair is pink. I'm telling on you, Jake. This campus is supposed to be a safe space and a gun-free zone.
Does nobody know what a safe space is? Jake shrugged at these snowflakes.
That's the college experience for you these days.
Yeah, these snowflakes are worthless in a crisis, and they fight back too much. But Jake figured out how to convince them.
Police are outside. They'll tell you what to do. Several faces lit up at the idea of being told what to do by the police, who they hate. Final shootout! Jake sends down a decoy elevator and takes down Matthias's last cronies whilst they're distracted. He blasts half of Reese's head off and quick draws on Alec, getting him right through the chest. He leaves Matthias for last, for the story.
Every kill has this kind of voyeuristic detail. Have a plan to kill everyone in the room, and if that gets you hard, then that's a bonus. It's really feeling like a pulp western now, as the author clearly delights in the quick draw gunplay and the lone hero excellence. His sidekicks did about 2 paragraphs of work. He really schooled these special snowflakes in the not-so-liberal art of war when he got them to shoot one thing and then left them guarding people.
Jake chases Matthias through the library aisles. So you think you're the hero? Jake didn't think of himself as a hero, just a guy who knew what needed to be done.
Fuck off with your false modesty. He's clearly a really proud guy. That is the one personality aspect that they keep establishing. He always does what needs to be done, whether it's arguing against gay rights or being suspicious of Middle Eastern people.
Jake could hear Matthias mumbling a few vile obscenities. The book stays away from using actual swear words beyond its favourite son of a bitch and bull. It just mentions when people curse to themselves and they say freakin' sometimes. You wouldn't want to offend anyone. Victory or death, Matthias cried. I know that reference. Travis at the Alamo. Don't dirty up the words of a noble man.
That's a white dude who moved to Mexico to avoid debt, and he didn't like that he wasn't allowed to own slaves there or that there were all these Mexicans around. Noble man.
Come out and face me, Foster. Mano a mano, Rivers. Just like in a bad book.
This is exactly like a bad book. Matthias refused to come out.
So Jake clambered up the shelves and body slammed him. Matthias scrambled in retaliation, and somehow they ended up in a quick draw scenario. Jake thought, sometimes life does play out like in a bad book. The shots crashed together. Jake felt the impact against his chest, and watched as Matthias held his bullet-torn throat, fountaining blood.
I think that's the 4th throat shot. He must have a really high score by now. Then Jake passed out, like he'd been tased twice.
In the ensuing weeks, counselors were overworked helping the students get through the trauma. This had been a macroaggression.
Instead of a microaggression, that thing that they say that you never pause to understand.
Some of these easily triggered snowflakes would never get over it.
Ha! Those pathetic trauma victims. We've got the what they did next part now.
Natalie was in custody. Matumbo resigned and took a vacation. Pierce stayed at school but decided to study by himself. Peltier had to put up a plaque honoring Jake.
That's all the snowflakes learned. You'd expect a paradigm shift, but Kelton remains unchanged and Jake actually drops out, so their progressive agenda can progress unchallenged. I guess they're a lost cause now, doomed to inclusivity and equal opportunity. McRaney offers Jake a job.
Oh. No. Spend every day dealing with these. No. Just no.
He's clearly very much against injustice, just not social injustice, because that involves society with people in it.
And Rivera approaches him. I've known who you are for a long time, Jake. My name's not really Rivera. I'm your uncle, who you thought was dead, and it's fine to slightly change your surname to make it seem that you're of a different race. I saw you at least a dozen times over the years, growing into a fine young man.
He was stationed in the Middle East.
No surprise. You got good genes.
Oh, he's a racist too.
I wanted to see how a throwback like you was doing at a modern college. You're the kind of guy who gets in trouble with regulations made by weaker men.
Bear in mind that these regulations were not being racist.
You got that true sense of right and wrong. I want you to take over his dog. I guess I'll give it a shot. But what's my code name? Maybe horse? You're as big as a horse. How about stallion?
How about ass? And that's the end of the book. Thank you for watching. I'll wait. Afterward?